Why would someone start a team?
An extra $2 million.
That's why they're doing it. They're looking at it through the lens of a business owner.
What could be more fun?
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Listing Agent Show. I have my co-host, Ren Jones from Vulcan 7 with me. Ren, welcome back, my friend.
Glad to be here, Brandon.
Absolutely. We've got a great conversation in store for the audience today. We're going to talk all about teams. And teams, I think, is something that has really picked up in the last probably decade. And there's a lot of, I think, myths around what teams are, what they are not. And I hope to give the audience some context. But before we do, let's make sure that we thank our sponsor, Vulcan 7. They are the best listing lead generation platform in the industry. So if you guys want to get started, I'm going to put a link in the description right underneath this video. Click on that link. You guys can talk to Vulcan 7 team and decide if it's the platform for you or not. So thanks, Ren, for all that you guys do at Vulcan 7.
And thank you for all you do for all the agents out there that you've made successful.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to break this conversation up into two parts. The first half I want to talk about, it's going to really pertain to the team leader or the people out there that want to start a team. And then the second half of our conversation is going to be for those agents that are asking themselves, Ren, should I join a team? Or if I'm on a team, should I leave the team? So first and foremost, there are a lot of, I think, myths and mistakes that you and I can shed some light on. The first thing that I wrote down is, I think a lot of people start teams for the wrong reason. And what I see for the most part is people wanting to start a team based from a place of ego, not from a place of business necessity. They want this huge team. They want all the awards. They want all the recognition of having a team, but they don't understand that it's an actual business model. And I want to talk about that for a little bit because, like I said, I think most people that have a team, quite frankly, shouldn't have a team because they're doing it because it's just all ego driven. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, but I don't. Okay, occasionally we don't agree perfectly because sometimes recognition will make you a driven soul, and if it does, and that causes you to run a successful team, that's fine. Because it boils down to some people are driven by money, some people are driven by recognition, some people by security, and if any of those three, if that causes you to create an excellent team, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's fair. And I totally agree with that. I think my point is I'm talking about, watch this. I'll give you a great example. Bob, we'll just call him Bob. Bob's been in the business.
I know, the guy that spells his name backwards. I know.
Exactly. Bob's been in the business for a year and a half. And he keeps hearing all these things about teams, has no business building a team, hires 5 or 10 buyer's agents. He himself has not succeeded yet. He takes on a bunch of expenses. They do 100 transactions with 10 people. So their per agent productivity is very low. And the profit margins for Bob are like peanuts, like 2%. He's not making any
Oh, golly,
money.
he could make a wonderful broker.
Yeah, exactly. But that's really what I'm talking about. When the person does it from an ego standpoint, not because of any logic, maybe.
Fair enough. So we both agree. I think we both agree.
Yeah, we do. And because my position on starting a team is looking at that decision, Ren, as a business decision, as a business owner, not from a place of ego or emotion. Because the person that I'm talking about, what I see every single day at my brokerage and the agents that I coach is most of these people that have these thoughts of starting a team is they believe it's a way out of producing. They think to themselves, I can just hire a bunch of agents and I no longer have to sell anymore. That's the person I'm talking about that has no business starting a team.
Well, and we see a lot of that where the person thinks that I'm going to have a team, but I'm no longer going to be a rainmaker.
Exactly.
That's a huge mistake.
Well, yeah. I mean,
the best thing they can do is model something for those people that join the team to strive for.
That is exactly right. And maybe I should have started it off that way is again, the first point on the show today is, why would someone start a team? The answer to that is not because they start a team as a way out of the real estate transaction, which, if people are being honest, that's why they're doing it. Like when no one's looking, and I can get one of these team leaders behind the curtain, have a couple of beers, and I say, dude, all right, shoot me straight. Like, is this why you did this? Most of them, Ren, are saying yes. I don't want to sell real estate anymore. So this is the way out of the transaction and the path of least resistance. I can go hire a bunch of brand new agents, buy leads from Zillow, and I don't have to sell anymore. Now, you and I both know that doesn't work, but that's why a lot of these people are starting these teams.
No, but there, you see, they're missing out on an extra $2 million in income for themselves, because they can build that up, have the people on the team running around, maybe listing some condos, working with some buyers, and then you've got all this staff to handle every detail, which is a wonderful thing, paid for by the tribe, if you will. And they can run around and do all luxury. They can just list the 1.2 and the 5.1 and those, and pick up a couple extra $1 million in income because they just go for the higher end. Now you got a good combination.
Well, and that's exactly the point. You're right. I agree with you. Those are the people that should be starting a team, because they're looking at it through the lens of a business owner. They're not running away from something.
Yeah.
And that's what I see is people have no business. They've been in the business for, like I said, 14 months. All of a sudden you're going to start a team, right?
Right.
And
but if they do that and they get all that, but if they continue to work, because here's the thing, they have the best, you have this huge infrastructure, everything, you turn in a contract that's processed perfectly, the inspections are handled by somebody else, everything's done for you. I mean, what could be more fun than to go list a $3.2 million property? And that's your job, is to go handle some of the finer properties in your market. I mean, I would want to do that. What are you going to do? Sit at home on your front porch?
Well, that's exactly right. And so I think that's a great segue into, like, what do we believe? Like, who is the type of person that should be starting a team? And we're going to get into models and structures in a second.
Yeah.
So I take this position, Ren, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. I take the position that, there's really 3 team models. Okay. There's 3. In my belief, okay, there's the what I call the teamridge, where you open an independent brokerage, but you run it as a team model. Every agent at the brokerage is on a team model. I think that's what Bernie's doing now at Remax, I believe, right?
Josh Barker.
Yeah. So that's one model. Love the model. The second model I wrote down is the sales team, where the team leader is absolutely the rainmaker, focusing on the higher end listings, bringing in the business, has a full administrative staff, so that when an agent comes into that team, they can be highly successful because their systems, processes, lead generations all solved. That's model number 2. And then model 3 that I mentioned at the beginning of the show is the ego-based model, where your name's on everything. You're hiring brand new licensees because they don't know any better, and you're just exchanging your credit card for buyer leads. And these people stay in your team for 6 to 9 months until they find out, oh my gosh, there's nothing here. I got to go off on my own. So the type of person, the position that I take is, one, if you're going to start a team, I think you should have walked the walk. Like, you should have already succeeded in the business of selling real estate, so that you can lead other people, Ren, when they look to you for leadership. You've already done what it is they want to do. Let's stay with that thought first.
You have unconscious competence in every aspect of the business, with the buyers, the sellers, the processes, the systems, the closings, the inspections. You've done it all to the point that it's unconscious competence. Your mouth opens up. You don't know what's going to come out, but the right words come out and explain it because you've done it so much.
Exactly right. And
then you can run a team because you know every component in your mind's eye, and it's easy to unfold because you don't have to ask anybody what to do.
Right. Exactly. And going back to my last point, I see so many agents, they haven't even listed a house yet. They had like 8 buyer transactions and they're ready to be a team leader. It's like, well, you don't even know how to put the sign up yet, So,
and I've seen so many of those, but generally speaking, 18 to 24 months later, they're in a whole different industry.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So number one, I think somebody has to have a level of experience. Now, I'm not saying they've got to be in the business for 20 years before they start a team or they start a brokerage, but they have to have, to your point, have some transactional boots on the ground experience. That's number one. Number two, I think that solo agent, before they start a team, has to experience administrative staff before they start hiring salespeople into their organization. That's another huge mistake that I see. You want to add
right? Yeah, I mean, that's your foundation. That is a huge foundation.
Right.
You need those seasoned individuals, and they need to be seasoned, because as the number of transactions goes up, certain things slip through the cracks. And when things accidentally slip through the cracks because you don't have the redundancy in place, then those things create, all kinds of chaos at a lower level. But when you have seasoned individuals, now you can bring on an agent, and then you can bring on another one, you can bring on another one, and it all works very well and smoothly. So
exactly.
Don't be in a hurry.
Don't be in a hurry. And the mistake that I keep seeing are these people that are starting teams too fast, hiring salespeople first, and then they become the transaction coordinator. They become the admin. And it's like,
that always troubled me. I've seen a lot of teams where I'm like, like Sally, I'm getting the impression you're doing your own inspections. You're doing your own this. You're doing, I have to do everything from pending to close. I'm like, really? When do you sell? Well, whenever I can squeeze it in. I'm like, what's the point of being on a team?
That's right. That's exactly right. You nailed it. So one, I think the person has to have experience. Two, I think they have to have an administrative foundation to their business model,
and a darn good one,
and a great one. That's right.
It's got to be solid and perfect with to get high marks where nothing slips through the cracks. Where if someone and enough where if one of them's out, somebody else can take over, and where you have consistency.
Yeah. Where the consumer goes through the process every time, to your point, and they have a great experience every single time.
And that takes a little bit to build up.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's the second thing from my opinion. And then the third thing, Ren, is you have to have a lead generation model that has been proven. The other big mistake that I see agents making when they start teams too early, when they don't have the lead generation model solved and they're trying things as a team leader, that's a huge red flag for me. I mean, they're trying this lead thing and then that lead thing. It's like, okay, we're going to go farm.
And what we see often is, and that's why it goes back to your point where you need to be really proving yourself and selling a lot of real estate, because when the people on your team and your assistant walk out and leave you and you're back to yourself again, you can still make some money.
That's right. That's right.
Because we see that happen too. What happened to the blah, blah team? Well, team left.
Yeah, there is no more team. And it happens all the time. So those are the three things that I think is the counter argument to like who should be starting a team. Now let's get into like models.
And then they've got to pick their people carefully.
Absolutely.
The standards you have to have high standards and be recruiting people, you've got to pick and choose carefully.
Well, that's a great segue into, the models, right? And so to your point, I broke down what I think are the three team models out there.
Go for it. Yeah, please.
What you kind of just talked about is, let's start with the ego model, ego model, the one that drives me crazy. These are people that are hiring anybody with a pulse. Oh, you just got your license? You could be on the team. And they have no standards, no culture, no leadership. It's because you got a license and my name is on your business card. We're a team now. It's crazy.
That's the body shop. That's where they're looking for a body.
Exactly. And so this whole thing starts with, again, going back to, if you're going to start a team, having standards in place, having systems, processes, and a culture that doesn't stand for mediocrity. As it relates to standards, if someone's going to start a team and they think about it from a business perspective, any smart business owner is going to have a standard. And just like you and I, if you and I owned a Jimmy John's franchise, we're not going to stand for people coming in an hour late every shift, but most of these team leaders are. So you were saying off air, having a production standard, right? Having a effort standard. All these things are important if you're going to have a successful team. Would you agree?
Yes. Standards are critical. Standards are critical.
Absolutely. So we have the ego team that we keep talking about. My favorite model. Okay. So we talked about the brokerage model, the independent brokerage that has salespeople. That's one model. I teach and coach the actual sales team model. And let me break that down. So we have a listing agent. This person is going to be listing 70, 80, 100, 150 homes per year. That person has a full-time transaction coordinator, a full-time assistant. Those are their first two hires. They handle all income producing activities. That person also has a showing assistant, a buyer agent, and the last thing that person has on their sales team is some type of ISA who's making outbound prospecting calls 8-12 hours a day. I call this the doctor or the lawyer type model, where the team leader, all the production is based off of that team leader. We're not running a business model, Ren, necessarily off of hiring all these people and building a model off their production. And this is just what I believe. Right, wrong, good or bad, is what I believe is
well, you get
model.
To keep the most amount of income that way.
That's right. Highest margins, highest control of your business. You're building your database. You continue to build your brand, your name in the community. And now you can have long-term employees, which is what you want in your business for a long period of time, because all the other team models, agents only stay on there. It's already been proven on average 18 months and they're gone. So that's just a turn and burn model. I would much rather operate like a brain surgeon. Well, I have my nurses.
Right. Your cost overhead, the efficiency, the whole thing operates really well. You can expand from that. But
right.
That what you described is the perfect setup that yields the highest amount of dollar for the least amount of effort. And it's a very sound structure.
That's right. You nailed it.
And then you have a pleasant problem because because it's so listing driven that you end up with actually it's just, when you look at it, it's listing driven. If somebody's listing that many properties in the market we're in today, 95% of those sell. And then of those 95%, at least half, if not more, have nowhere to live and are like an immediate client that's very loyal that your buyer agent and showing assistant end up working. And so it's as smooth as it can get. You don't have to pay Zillow for that. And
that's right.
A Zillow buyer is 10 times worse than a homegrown where they have nowhere to live, because the homegrown is going to buy something today or this week because they have nowhere to live. Whereas the Zillow buyer may sit on the fence for 2 years.
You nailed it. I mean, you nailed it. My buyer agent. So I run this same team for myself personally. My buyer agent made $270,000 in 2021 working with the buyers of the home.
Folks, he is not talking about California. He's talking about Detroit.
I'm in Detroit. And
that's it. Ren, and you can make that much and be the richest person in town.
Right. Well, the thing is, you nailed it. Like the best buyer is the seller who you make homeless. And so when you have a listing agent who's listing all these properties, you're generating, to your point, the best buyer leads for free. And that's why people want to work on that team model, because you have the best opportunity for them. You're not buying, internet leads that convert at 1% and they got to just bang the phones all day. Like people they don't want any part of that anymore. That model to me is very dangerous for the team leader and for the agent.
Right. It's I mean, you're running a high expense. The numbers on the Zillow buyer, an 18 buyer agent model is, you're running an Exxon station. You're making 8 cents a gallon. You're burning through a lot of cash, but you don't get to keep much of it yourself.
That's exactly right. And how teams started was that, and people were making they were making a lot of money because the cost per lead were so small. Now the cost per leads are so high, the conversion so low, and the retention of agents on these teams is so short that model is a massive headache. It gives you a lot of stress, a lot of headache, a lot of expenses, tight margins. And those are the models that really why I wanted to do this episode with you today. I'm trying to have agents steer clear of that model. I want them to be a listing agent first, hire an admin staff, and then build off of your own personal production so that agents that come on the team have a great opportunity because you have so much business for them. That's my position on it.
It's the perfect model. It is. It is. Anything else is pathetic. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. So let's shift the conversation and talk about the agent now who is asking themselves, should I be on a team? Or if I'm on a team, should I leave or should I stay on this team? So for me, this conversation starts with exactly what we said the perfect team model would be. And I look at myself and say, okay, if I'm a brand new agent, if I'm going to go on a team, it's going to be because I can sell more real estate with this team than I could on my own. If the answer to that question is yes, most agents, if they're on a great team that provides leadership, culture, standards, structure, most people in this industry should be on a team like that.
Yeah, if you can find the model you described, and they exist in every city, if you can find that model, that's the one you want to be on. For example, how much your buyer agent makes.
That's right.
Buyer agents in a structure like that always do well because there's consistency. A lot of the buyers come from not from Zillow, they come from or whatever, they come from homegrown.
My list. We don't buy any leads. We buy no buyer leads.
All right, so that is highly efficient. And so that's the model you want to go towards. If you're thinking about joining a team, and you may not want to ever change it because you'll make us so much money because of that arrangement.
And the thing is, furthermore, like my buyer's agent. She'll tell you this. If she was on the show, she would tell you, I don't like lead generating. So when I was on my own, I was only selling 6 or 7 homes a year, which equated to like 30, 40 grand because she's like, I'm not going to do any lead generation. Right. I can align myself with a guy like you who loves lead generation and I can be successful for the rest of my career. She's a great agent. Our clients love her. And so for most people, if you're not going to lead generate and you're not going to prospect, you should align yourself with the rainmaker.
And don't get hung up on, well, I'm not making I wouldn't make as much per transaction. Guess what? Well, of course not. You only have 7 a year versus 70 a year. You're going to end up making 200,000, typical team, maybe 110, 120,000.
Yep.
Brandon's got quite a team, but it's still a great income and it's consistent. And it's easy. And generally on a team like that, if you're going on vacation, generally there's a couple buyer agents and you could swap off with each other. And so you can have a great life, take vacations and not feel married to the business at the level that you end up doing as a solo agent.
Exactly right. You nailed it.
There's so many upsides to a good team.
Exactly. I think agents they have to, there's the pros and cons of being on a team. And the commission split is like the last on the equation because you nailed it. Like if you're going to sell 40 houses on a team and make 150K or 200K and you can only sell 6 on your own, who cares what the commission split is? Yeah,
you'll actually have better hours, much higher income, esprit de corps. The only time the model you're describing, Brandon, ends up with a little bit more turnover than it is if the person running the team is detached. People want to feel like they belong. They want to feel like they matter. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. So if you as the team leader encourage them and give them attaboys, attagirls, like, what a great job. I really appreciate you. If they feel appreciated, they will stay for years and years and years and years and years. That's all people want in life. So if you're running a team, create that little bit of culture and those people will stay with you for 10, 15 years. And then you've got something powerful.
Exactly. And to add to that, even profit share. Imagine a world for all of you thinking about a team. If you had a profit share where at the end of the year, everyone on the team got a piece of how the team does overall, they'll never leave. They want to feel part of it, to Ren's point.
Right. If you're doing it right, they won't leave. And so you have to build that piece of culture. I've seen this happen where people don't, they become detached as the team lead, and they are like, well, people will leave for 5% more. That's because you haven't instilled some esprit de corps. That's all you have to do.
That's right. That's right. So if you're on it, so the perfect storm is this. If you're an agent thinking about joining a team, or if you're on a team and you're questioning it, here's my position on this. The team should create a world where you can spend the majority of your time in income producing activities. And when you secure a client, that client then gets serviced by an administrative team that provides a better, higher level of service than you would. And you show up at the closing looking like a hero. And if that is all true, then like I said before, I believe most agents should be in a model like that, because they cannot reproduce those types of results on their own for the most part.
Right. And if you're delegating because that's a good reason to delegate, because they're actually going to do a better job than you would yourself, because you can't do two things at once. Exactly. And if they're focused on that administrative, taking it from pending to close in a perfect way, delegate.
There's a lot of value there.
That's the biggest struggle with somebody leading a team, is learning how to delegate properly.
For sure. And that's a whole thing, is like how to become a better leader, right? How to become a better leader of people. That's a whole nother episode. So
that is.
I just wanted to share kind of my view on our view, I should say, on this whole team thing, because I think it really gets out of control at times where, again, I recruit a lot of agents to my firm, and we bring on about 100 coaching clients a month. And I'm talking to brand new agents a lot of the time, Ren. And one of the first things they talk about is building a team. And I have to constantly say, wait a minute. Why don't we get you successful first before you worry about helping other people become successful? And I think there's a lot of people that put the cart before the horse. That's my position on teams right now.
Well, I like what you've outlined. That is the perfect model. If they follow it, if they're just a little bit patient and build a good foundation. Don't be putting the roof on first. Build the foundation. Get a good team, administrative team that has perfect execution, that have been with you for a while.
That's right.
And and then you can start adding on and build, and then it'll happen organically.
Yeah.
If you do it right, but then you're going to have to let go and delegate a little bit. So it's a process.
And you're right. You do have to be patient, and people in this industry just have this addiction to instant gratification.
It's the American. I know. It's the American way.
If you're going to be in this business for the next 10, 15, 20 years, you might as well take Ren's advice, build a strong foundation so that as you start building the team, you don't have to keep going backwards, because that's what happens. People build these teams so fast on their credit card, they start getting $10,000 bills or $10,000 bills from these internet lead companies. They're not closing anything, and they got to shut down the team, fire everybody, and start all over again. And that's what Ren and I are trying to help you guys through that, so you do this the right way.
Wonderful. This sure covered a lot of good ground.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys got some good insights, some good value from today's show. Like always, if you have recommendation on a topic that you want Ren and I want for us to discuss in a future episode, put it in the comments section beneath this video. And like I said at the beginning, a lot of the things that we mentioned are in the links in the description. And so that's it for today, my friend. Great show, Ren. Appreciate your time, buddy.
Appreciate you, Brandon, and get involved with Brandon if you're not, because sometimes people wander in, watch this and go, hey, I like this stuff. And Brandon has created a lot of wealthy people.
Well, I appreciate that, Ren. So until next time, you guys, stay productive, keep prospecting, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Listing Agent Show next week. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.